Morning. I'm going to kick off. I think when Michael asked me to go first, he said, you can go first because you're a bit different. And I think what he meant by that was I don't work day to day in the advertising industry. Although I have a number of clients in advertising, I work just as much with media owners and with the challenges that media owners are facing in still attracting audiences to make them attractive to advertisers. And therefore the future of media from my perspective is quite a broad question, and no doubt we'll be touching on that as we go through the panel. At PwC we start quite often from the perspective of the consumers. So rather than being at the end of the corporates in a if we build it they will come kind of mentality, we start with consumer focus groups. We talk to people in their homes, we watch them interacting with media, we ask them what sort of advertising they will accept, what advertising they won't accept, what sort of content is attractive to them, what they would never dream of paying for in the new environment. And rather than me stand and tell you what they tell us, what I'm going to show you is a video of some of the consumers talking to us about what's going on in their consumer lifestyles at the moment. There are also a few numbers thrown in, which is from an annual forecast that we do at PwC called the Outlook. So I'll come back at the end of the video and talk a little bit about what the consumers are telling us and also about some of the numbers. So if we could have the video.
Sur les grands-parents, ils seraient complètement largués par le monde dans lequel on vit aujourd'hui, quoi. Il y a des écrans de partout. En 10 ans, il y a eu une révolution à ce niveau-là, quoi.
パソコンがなくなったとしても携帯はコミュニケーションのツールとしては絶対に持っていたいですね。
I check the weather, I take photos, I tweet, I blog, I do Google searches. It's pretty much my life.
I have turned to the internet for television, which is why I'm going to get rid of my DVR.
I'm happy to spend whatever I need to spend per month to get the fastest broadband connection.
Sem dúvida que a internet virou uma opção melhor agora, seja de baixar vídeo, filme ou até mesmo um jornal.
今すぐに音楽が欲しくなった時とかは携帯でダウンロードしたりします。携帯のゲームをダウンロードしてたまに使ってます。
I found some internet sites where you can watch movies, you can stream movies and television shows online.
I spend quite a bit on music, but I do it through emusic.com and it's a flat rate.
I'm willing to pay a lot more for 3D movies.
I can actually watch shows on mobile without missing it, as in irrespective of wherever I am or whatever place I am in.
Reverter o gasto do disco físico com música internet. Since the changing economy, I've had to really tighten my belt. I used to spend a fortune on glossy magazines. Now I just go online. I don't get to keep a copy, but everything's there at your fingertips.
不景気になって定額給付金というものが出されましたので、それで結構音楽ツールを買ったりとか結構しましたね。
I'd actually probably spend more time consuming media since the economy's gone down because going out is costly.
When the recession ends, I'll probably be buying more music, probably more movies.
I'm gonna get a Blu-ray player because lots of the DVDs now are coming out on Blu-ray. They're more expensive, but the quality's much better. So the Blu-ray player is also the PlayStation.
Je suis vraiment prêt à investir pour les écrans 3D ou à changer mon portable vers la 3D. La qualité, c'est vraiment un truc, c'est pas en option quoi.
I would also go for some other games like Wii and everything else came in Xbox. So I would purchase quite a few of items which have came in the market.
景気が改善されたらやっぱりそういうところもだんだんレベルアップしていきたいなとは思ってます。はい。
Sim, eu assistiria comerciais em troca de um conteúdo gratuito.
If I receive content for free, I don't mind watching like a few commercials.
It's no big deal for me to watch commercials. And actually, it can be fun as well.
Acho que essa customização só tem a ajudar, tanto é melhor para o cliente e é melhor para o anunciante.
I would definitely like to share with my name, my family background, where do I stay and what kind of family income I enjoy. And I would definitely like them to tell me that where the product is actually available for me and where is it's nearest to me.
I probably would be willing to give away information about myself in order for people to target advertising towards me, because there's nothing worse than watching adverts that you're not really interested in at all.
Favourite part of that is all the disclaimers at the end. That's not a statistically valid sample. We deliberately target people for those comments who have been through higher education and who have an ability monetarily to be early adopters. But when we started our focus groups 4 or 5 years ago, and we've done kind of 200, 250 focus groups around the world with different demographics. When we started with the younger generation, we really didn't understand what they were talking about. They were talking about devices and ways of consuming media that we just sat with our mouths open as we looked. But in the 24 to 34-year-old category, actually everybody was still doing exactly what we expected. And our question at the outset of that 5 years ago was, when the younger generation becomes time poor and they move into the workplace and they have disposable income of their own, will they stop all these ways that they have been consuming media, finding free content, going around things? And will they turn into their parents? And as we've gone through that 5 years, it's been very clear that the shift has been in the other direction. And the consumer habits of the young are bleeding up the demographics, and actually parents' consumer habits are turning into those of their children. So that has quite a profound impact on media. Now, there were a few numbers in there. If we can go to the slides, please. This is kind of the scary chart that we show to media owners, and this is our forecasts. I know Adam will have a view on forecasting as well. This is our forecast of what is going to happen over the next 5 years to the ad industry. And this is total advertising money, and we track it in our book in dollars. And the key thing to note there is that the total revenues that media owners will earn from advertisers in 2013 is less than it was in 2007. That has some pretty profound impacts for their own cost bases and how they therefore can invest in the new economy in order to continue to attract audiences. Michael asked if we'd show that by segment. Here it is. These are growth rates. What we did for the first time in our book, we normally show a compound annual growth rate. We're much more interested in the long-term trend rather than the absolutes as to what happens in any given year. But because we were doing this in the summer of last year, we decided we would separate 2009 and 2010 as the years of recession, and then show separately the compound annual growth rates, which is the dark blue bars, for 11, 12 and 13. And so you'll see some of the old media, consumer magazines, newspapers, directories, trade magazines, having a really tough 2009, 2010. compound annual declines of a pretty significant amount, and then when the bounce back in 11, 12 and 13 comes, our view is the bounce back will not be big enough to compensate for the depth of the decline that they've suffered in 2009 and 2010, meaning that the advertising revenue in those industries will be lower than it was. Which goes to a fairly fundamental conclusion out of our forecasting at the moment, when you step away from the numbers, is that sometimes when you go into recession, it's all about timing of recovery. So that the recession is cyclical. Our view very much this time that what comes out at the end of this recession will not be the same as what went in. The pace of change towards a digital transformation is being accelerated by the downturn. And I'll come back to that when I have some comments on the panel. The previous slide was global numbers. These are the UK numbers that we put out with the IAB every 6 months. I'm just meeting up with the IAB tomorrow to talk about the second half numbers, which we're just aggregating at the moment for 2009. The big headline number that came out in the press last year about the UK, and the UK is an anomalous market for the amount of advertising which is going online at the moment. There was a stat on the video that suggested our forecasts show that in 2013 we think about 20% of total advertising will be online. Well, we're already beyond that in the UK at the moment. We're at 24% in the UK, and we forecast we'll be going to 36% by 2013 will be spent online. The big headline from the half-year numbers was that online advertising had overtaken television. There is, though, I think still a very important story behind that, which is the next slide. When you break down what we really mean by internet advertising, it is absolutely dominated by search. The next largest category is classifieds. When we get to display, where there is still a challenge for online to show that online can build brands in the same way that television and other display advertising can come. Only 20% of the online number is display at the moment, which means that it is tiny compared to television and some of the other display media that we've all grown up with. That is the challenge for the Internet Advertising Bureau in convincing people around the efficacy and the importance of online advertising, and that will be a theme, I think, as we'll see coming out when we talk about online against other types of advertising going forward. So when we talk to media companies, these are the sort of things that we talk about. So stepping away from advertisers and advertising, the challenge for media owners is how to stay relevant. As old business models deteriorate and become less profitable, how do they step into the new age and aggregate consumers who are, frankly, aggregating themselves and producing their own content? And having aggregated them, how do you monetize it? If people are not prepared to pay for content, will they accept advertising? If they will accept advertising, what sort of advertising and what price can you charge for that advertising? So a number of areas that we challenge media companies on, and what this results in for us at PwC is not only conversations about new revenue streams, new revenue models, it's about how do you protect and preserve what you've got so far, and how do you change the back office in order that it's fit for purpose for the new age. So quite a lot of change, quite a lot of turmoil within media owners, and I'm sure we'll pick that up as we go through on the panel.